you are supposed to receive something, it's like you're going to be filling up your shoes with it, you know? So it's worth the wait, and it's worth like accepting some perceived failures along the way.
My name is Diana. My pronouns are she and her.
And my name is Erica. My pronouns are also she and her.
And we are the co-hosts of the Sacred Pathways. Come with us as we step off the paths of dominance, oppression, and hierarchy, and into the presence of the immanent sacred.
Okay, so I feel like I want to start in this moment. So that's like kind of part of my kind of discipline and practice right now. Discipline's a weird word. It doesn't feel like tough discipline. It feels
right. Too aggressive of a word.
Yeah, it feels like chosen, like loving discipline and playing host to whatever is here for me. So right now I am hosting that kind of, like I was telling you, like groggy fogginess and tiredness, and just kind of I'm feeling down, and so there's like a kind of just like a murkiness that I'm hosting right now, but I'm just going to still say like welcome to that feeling, and like that can be here along with whatever else is around. Last night I harvested like way more acorns than I've ever found in my entire life. I have like a huge pile of acorns, and I just found them like when I was walking around last night. Mm-hmm. In like a parking lot. Like it was like there's a shopping center and there's just a few trees outside, and there were just a million acorns like lying around on the ground. And wow. I just decided to harvest the ones that were good. And like my plan is to, to make traditional acorn mush, like the native tribes did. That's something that's really special to me because I feel very connected to the oak trees here. I'm in Northern California, and the rolling hills with oak trees on it is a very iconic kind of image to me. And also it's just how the places that I grew up in looked. And so like, I feel very connected to those trees. And I thought that consuming the acorns would be the most meaningful thing because there's a lot of nutrients in the acorns. So that would be a pretty special experience. And that's one of the reasons I got interested. But what's happened is actually the process of finding them and harvesting them has been really meaningful to me as well. And the first time I went out to look for acorns, I was just in this park that I love, and like I was just kind of spending time with the trees, and I was hoping to find acorns, and I was going around and I just was like moving from tree to tree and looking, like I was looking pretty intensely, right? It was like there's just grass and there's a bunch of stuff, and I need to find the acorns, and I was like so kind of hyper focused on finding acorns. And I found like a few, like half dozen. And then at the very end, I found this one spot where there were a few, like, a small handful, maybe 2 handfuls. And I was like, okay, this is fine. Like, I'll just bring it home and see what happens. And so I bring them home, and every single one is just like, it's just complete dust inside. Like, it was a complete bust. I was disappointed, but I was just like, okay, it's fine. Like I knew it was early in the acorn season. I was just kind of getting in touch with the trees. That was my main sort of purpose in that trip. So then, I think like a week and a half passes. I was actually running because I wanted to exercise. And I just happened to see like all of these acorns on the ground. You couldn't miss them because they were pretty big. Like they were almost the size of my thumb. And also there were 2 colors. There were green on half and yellow on half. Like these bicolored, crazy things. I have a significant amount of those, and then I have a bunch of the other ones. But anyway, so I just happened upon like this one tree that was dropping acorns, and like there were a lot of them in just one area, and I didn't have to do this kind of intense like harrowing process of going through the woods and like combing through and sort of doing this like, I mean, to me, the word was like colonialized, like working type of thing. That feels like maybe the intense word to use, but I just happened upon all of this wealth, like just on the ground. And then I noticed, like, as I was gathering them, they were literally dropping as I was gathering. And it was just like this gorgeous feeling of like I had asked for that experience of receiving acorns, and
Yeah,
like
you
at
did.
first at first it was like, oh no, like there's just a couple, and then like when the time was right, it was just like I almost couldn't take them all, and like especially last night, I literally like I filled up the pockets of my yoga pants, and then I like came home because I couldn't gather them all, brought my little bags with me, filled up the bags and my pockets,
Wow.
and there was still a bunch more, so I had to take off my shoes and fill up my shoes with the acorns. So I
I
was
love
like,
that.
it feels like this beautiful message about the time being right, like when you are supposed to receive something, it's like you're going to be filling up your shoes with it, so it's worth the wait, and it's worth like accepting some perceived failures along the way.
Wow, I'm reacting the way that I am because I feel that so much right now. Yeah, but I don't want to take away from the rest of your story if you have more to speak on it.
Well, I just wanted to say that I just talked about a physical harvest, like something that I gathered myself in the sort of physical earth realm. I'm gathering, but I'm also gathering so much from my energetic realms and relational life, and like, and not all of it is good. Like some of it is a pretty bitter crop right now. I feel like I get a lot of different colors and flavors to work with right now, and yeah, and I just wanted to say, like, I've been searching for a way to bring in more the gratitude and just the like love that I feel for you and for our relationship, and like this feels like the perfect fucking way to do that. So I'm just like so pleased and tickled pink to be here and to be like talking with you and recording finally, and like it just feels like such a blessing to me. It feels like another big gift.
Yeah. I was thinking about this yesterday, and that's why I was like, let's record tomorrow, because in a way I have also very recently experienced the same thing where I'm like going out, like looking for, searching, seeking, just to realize that I already have so much to work with, that I'm already blessed with so much. And this was triggered by yesterday. I had my Bridging Women of Color Feminist workshop. It was our last meeting, and we ended with, you're going to love this, we ended with a poetry workshop where it was so beautiful. Someone, their name was Kazumi, and they came in and just like set up this beautiful space and told us to think about, they answered 3 different questions, which ended up being kind of like a manifestation exercise. It was, whoa, it was powerful. But anyway, first question, what do you give to your community? Or like, what do you want to give to your community? What do you give to yourself? And what do you need from others? Those 3 questions. So that's how we started. And I highly suggest whoever is listening to this, as well as you, Diana, to do this because it was so beautiful. What do you give to your community, number 1, or what would you like to give to your community? 2, what do you give to yourself? And 3, what do you need from others? Because the whole thing about the abolitionist movement is the fact that there is not one way to do anything. And through our differences, that's how we collectively work together and raise each other up. It's through our differences that bind us. And this is true, if you even think about it, it's true for like physics too. Like different particles are attracted to each other to make stronger bonds if they are more polarized, right? The more polarized, the stronger the bond. So like
the more different.
Yes, the more different, the stronger the bond, the more cohesive it is. So we started off with, based on what the answers were for the 3 questions that I had just spoken about, you start a poem with I give. I give, blah, 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 I give, blah, blah, blah. Kazumi was like, you can step away from this as you go along. Just go wherever it takes you. It was funny because the group wasn't expecting everyone to share everything. So these were like very, very personal, very tangible. And I was crying like a baby. But there were a lot of, I felt like there was a lot of connection to nature in that group because we all talked about the experiences of nature. And that was so beautiful to see. Do you mind if I read what I've written?
Please.
Okay. I give you the sun, the warmth on your skin. I give you the shock of the icy stream, the tickle of the crawling ants taking big, mighty strides, the indents of the pebbles molding and forming your back, your butt, your legs. I give you the rock fall, the instability of each step. I give you the dew, the beads of your life on your temples, your mustache, the folds of your skin. I give you the rest, the wind on your back, the dirt in your eyes, the shade from the heat. I give you your obstacles and their antitheses, the ease and the unease and the dis-ease and the mis-ease and the freedom to be ease. And this was, remember that, okay, that we had that conversation where I was talking about how we both want to save people from all the pain that we've experienced and all the discomfort and like the struggle. And from writing this poem, I realized that those are so extremely necessary. Like, I don't want to take that away from anyone.
Wow. Is there anything else that wants to come up about like how it feels necessary or like how you can sense that, how you feel that in your body maybe?
Well, actually, I'll tell you what the second exercise was, because this is where it really solidified for me. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm here to do. But the next one is writing up 10 statements of I will. This is where like the manifestation comes in, I feel. It was so powerful. So I'll just read them off. And it starts to be like very focused and it starts kind of expanding outwards a little bit. So number 1, I will break and rupture and fracture all the rules of Western music.
Yes.
I will allow discomfort in my audience's experience of my art.
Wow. So there's so much already. Keep going.
I know. I will allow time for rest and reflection. I will help people see what is possible. And then I kept writing more about it, like the beautiful messiness society has kept us away from. This one I don't feel so comfortable doing, but I'm working on it. I will never apologize for what needed expressing in the moment. Because I still feel guilty and stay up at 4 a.m. thinking about the stupid shit I did in second grade, you know? Like, like, I gotta let that go. I have to let it go. I must acknowledge that, like, that was what, like, everything that I have done, that I've said to hurt people, that, just like all of it, it needed expressing.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I didn't give myself the space to do it all the time, that's why it exploded like the way it did. That's why I hurt people as much as I did when I did explode and let it out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's probably the most challenging one that I think is a continuous process. I mean, this all is, but I feel like that's where I need to start. It's kind of like the base.
Right.
Number 6 is I will be the spokesperson of my contribution. Number 7 is I will challenge everything. Number 8 is I will open hearts by disrupting people's perceptions.
I love that.
Number 9, I will activate chakras. And number 10, I will be the voice for the voiceless.
Wow. This feels so powerful and like strong.
Oh my gosh. This was like a sobbing mess yesterday. It was in a Zoom and everybody was like, just cover Erica because we don't want to cry too. And I'm like, hey, I'm doing number 2. I will allow discomfort in my audience's experience.
You're like, I'm working on my shit right now.
Yeah, seriously. And I realized after writing all of this down, this is like everything about my personality and how I was as a child. This roots back to my soul purpose. And I've always known this, but I haven't accepted it. And so like going back to the whole theme of harvest, I've always been wanting to harvest outside of myself. When all along, everything was so strongly rooted in me. Just like wanting to bloom. And I never let it do that. I never let it do that because I was so scared. And then to like further the whole harvest thing, Kazumi, this was their first time being in our group. And they were so blown away by the environment that we've all brought into this group and like everything that we've contributed. And they're like, what you've made is so special. And I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it until someone said it.
Yeah.
And that made me think about like all the people that I really, really love and that I need to, that I will accept the harvest of, you know? And harvest also hints at the fact that you yourself have to put nurturing into it. You have to give as well. It has to be like some kind of exchange. And I'm like, why am I trying to nurture the things that aren't already in my sphere. Like, I already have so much. I have everything I need. I have everything I need.
I'm so glad that you brought this into putting yourself in the position of the trees as well as the harvester, you know, and I feel like that is really that's the important part about this kind of myth to me, is like that interconnection between, you know, the role that I was in last night or last week, and then the role that the tree was playing. And you're talking more about the tree's position, where there's this incredible outward motion and giving and like spreading of things, you know, and seeding of new life, and just it's like you're spreading your energy, and you're sharing your fertility, really. Like that's kind of what it comes to for me. And like we're some of the only beings that I know of who actively kind of start attacking our own organism and start, you know, like you were saying, dismissing and devaluing what we like are naturally giving out. And that's like, you know, that's where I'm probably going to start crying too, is just like, I've had zero interest in what I can sort of naturally grow myself, you know, and zero feeling of worthiness, and that would be something that would be needed by others and somehow important, you know. I mean, I think that, you know, there's all of these sort of external factors. We don't have to get into the systemic structures of like how, you know, shame works and how cultural like oppression, right? Like all that stuff, all that information is out there. We're just here kind of I feel like in this experience of like, you know, we've had different experiences growing up, but I feel like we both are talking about this feeling of dismissing our own fruits, you know, or like dismissing the natural outgrowths of our lives. And in my case, that's been like, I have this like deep obsession / love of like songs and of words and stories and like myth. And, you know, that's where I feel drawn to be and to exist and to just kind of work. And there's always this voice in the back of my mind that's saying, that's not enough. That's not important. That's not, you know, that's somehow not worthy of my time and effort and other people's time and, you know, attention. And I don't actually believe that. That's the weird part, is I can find myself being in this position of holding two beliefs at the same time and fighting against myself. Like I was describing, like there's this feeling of me, you know, not sending the nutrients to the parts of myself that need them somehow. Or like if I was a tree, I would be like twisted over on one side, like on the ground, you know, with like part of my roots up in the air. Like I would not be a very healthy tree right now. That's not like a judgment. That's just sort of, I feel like, you know, this sort of metaphorical truth about me right now. And yeah, I guess I'm just bringing love and attention to that aspect for myself too. I do want to challenge myself and share something word-based.
We are here for this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we're approaching my growing edge now, and my growing edge is like, you know, okay, what I want to say is reclaiming my erotic energy, but I just don't want to be too sort of like TMI about things. But it's like,
that's not TMI.
It's reclaiming this energy that I feel inside myself, but have never had words and sort of a feeling of safety enough to allow to come out. So a lot of this is, it's up to me to excavate it, basically. And like, one of the things that's come up to me about that's needed to happen, I think, about excavating that kind of erotic energy, is going back through some of my memories and feeling this suppressed energy that was there. And like, I was assigned male at birth, and I was like in a lot of situations where I was friends with boys, and sometimes I would have a friendship with one specific boy, and like, what I kind of didn't realize even then was that I might have had sort of like a crush on that boy. But it wasn't like, I could not have told you that. I couldn't have even spoken anything about that. It was so buried underneath layers and layers of shame and homophobia, and just like this feeling that I had to play a specific role, and my role was the little brother. And like, if I did that well, I felt good. And if I tried to step out, I felt this overwhelming mountain of like shame and fear, and like I was going to get left behind. That was the feeling, was like I would be exiled and basically left to starve. And this wasn't expressed in my sort of physical truth. I was never threatened. I was never beaten up. I just had this strong energetic feeling of, you need to conform. You need to be this idea of male in order to be okay here. And that's another weird thing for me. I can't quite pinpoint how that happened. I think that it was a more sort of ancestral energetic thing. And since I'm very sensitive to energy, I was very good at picking up the things that were coming from others.
Yep, as we all do.
Anyway, so one of the things that I did last week to try and excavate these crushes that I had on boys, as a young child, was I actually wrote like love poetry to them, or sort of, I was like, these feelings, I have such a hard time speaking about them. What would happen if I just put them into the poetic voice and let them just explore that space in a really gentle, non-linear way, rather than trying to say, oh yes, and I would have liked to do this, and this is how, it's like, that feels too clinical. It feels too like, it just doesn't meet the moment, like there's something about my inner child that wants that ability to just play and just sort of just say what comes, and not really worry too much about it. So I'm going to read a poem, and this memory comes from when I was about, I think, 6 or 7 years old. I couldn't be there with you then, but this energy still lives in me. My face gets tingly when I think of your face, your hair, your smile, the way you led the games, let me tag along. The trees we climbed, thick foliage breaking off to stick in our hair, sap on our hands. How I would have worked to see you smile. How desperate I was to please you. But you walled yourself off, climbed to places I couldn't reach. Then, as now, it must be enough to feel you across the distance and send you my love. And then I just wrote a bunch of hearts on the page. Which feels really dangerous to me. It's like, what's crazy to me is how much that feels like a rebellion, and how much that feels like, this really deep magic that I'm doing of rebelling through softness and gentleness and like love, being able to release and accept the way that I love, the way that I've always loved, and just haven't been able to accept, and haven't allowed to bloom, like you were saying, like, just to steal your line.
This is okay. Yes, your hearts are you blooming, and it's so beautiful because blooming thinking it in a like orchard setting, if you bloom too early, that can be really dangerous, right? If a freeze happens, that there goes your whole harvest. But it's just the risk that we have to take, because that is the way that we will live, like truly live. Like, you have to bloom in order to make fruit. You have to bloom to have that even be an option.
Yeah, I'm feeling that truth really strongly. And it feels like just sort of like I experienced that time of the acorns falling, like when they fell, there was probably an equally specific time when the buds opened. You know what I mean? Like, I'm actually not sure if the oak tree has flowers, but like, it doesn't matter in this case. It's just we're talking sort of mythical, like
Right.
language here. It's like, it feels like there's this one specific time where, it's time, and I feel like, that's where I go to getting a signal from my body and getting a signal from sort of my spirit, I guess, is like, that's, I guess my mind went to like, oh, how do you know when the time to bloom is? And I feel like there's not really necessarily a smart answer. You just know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening.
The energy is so thick whenever we discuss. It's always like so potent and like it's just so alive. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. Shall we finish with a meditation?
Yeah.
I think that would be so beautiful.
Let's do it. Yeah, just gratitude for the flowers, for the acorns, gratitude for the harvest. Thank you for this conversation, for the technology and the magic that has enabled us to have it and to be with it in this moment. And I just want to have this feeling of, I just want to hold this feeling of love and acceptance of what just happened and what's going to happen, but specifically around this little episode that we've just contained and that we're about to close, like a bubble, a bubble of sweet love and just like nourishing. Like, I hope that there are some things that cause people to just poke their heads up a little bit out of the crazy melee that is 2020, and our hearts are together with you in this moment through time and space. And yeah, I feel like that's maybe all that needs to be said. We're just here with you. close with two words from some of my spiritual teachers who I love. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Woo! Yay!
Yeah!
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That was so beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording. Stop recording. You will receive an email notification when the cloud recording is ready.
Thank you for listening to our first episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate and review the show to help us reach more listeners, and hit subscribe so you can tune in to our next episode.
This episode was produced and recorded by Erica Neufeld and Diana Walker, and edited by Diana Walker. The music in this episode was written, produced, and performed by Diana Walker and Laurel Walker.